Hi, Michael Huff with MountainKernel.com, and today I am at day 2, Saturday, of the Ohio Linux Fest conference here at the Greater Columbus Convention Center here in Columbus, Ohio. We've got a lot of people representing today, including Hewlett-Packard, Oracle, Curl, Cover My Meds, a local company here. Lots and lots of keynotes, some great stuff, great opportunity for people to learn about Linux, open source. We're also going to be treating you guys to an interview with Chris and Angela Fisher, Jupiter Broadcasting, and he co-hosts the Linux Action Show every week. So make sure you check that out when you get a chance. It's a pretty exciting time here, lots and lots of things to see and do. So without further ado, let's get to it.
The Ohio Linuxfest started in 2003. The first event was at Ohio State, and then we moved over to a hotel that's connected here. And this is the 10th year that we've been in the convention center itself. I actually started volunteering back around 2006, I suppose. And then this year I was asked to kind of step up and be the speaker chair.
Hi, my name's Susan Rose, and I'm social media coordinator, community manager for Ohio Linux Fest. And if you're watching this now, that means you missed Ohio Linux Fest unless you were here already. This is our 12th year. Free and open source is such a wonderful sharing collaborative concept that's really going to help the world in so many ways. The philosophy of free and open source sharing and collaboration is actually bigger than this conference itself. It is a theme that's going across the world. There's many Linux Fest open source conferences. Free software movement is great. It's just one more piece of the puzzle to make the world a better place.
Hi, I'm Andrew Ward. I'm a representative for Fedora. I'm an ambassador. I help promote and distribute the product that we think is probably the leading cutting edge of Linux distributions. We have several different desktops, depending on your flavor. If you like an XP type of desktop, you could go with the LXDE, XFCE, or KDE desktops. Or if you prefer more of a Mac Windows 7 looking environment, you could go to the GNOME desktop. But what we do here is we are the leading technical edge of all Linux distributions. We do it first, and we distribute it to all the rest of the open sources. So, and we have a great backbone support with our website, so if you ever have a question, go to fedoraproject.org and go to the chat rooms, and there's somebody there who will answer questions.
Hi, my name's Ryan, and I work at Linode. We are a Linux cloud server provider, which means that you can sign up for our services. We have cheap plans down to $10 a month. And if you sign up with us, you get a Linux server that is available 24/7 with a public IP address. You can host a web server. You can do anything that you'd like with it, all for $10 a month. We use all SSD drives. We also run Intel E5 Ivy Bridge V2 processors, and all our servers run Zen. At Ohio Linux Fest, this is our first year.
There's a lot of people here, a lot of different vendors. They have stuff here for different age groups, different levels, from beginning people that know anything about Linux to people that have been in the field for quite a while. For me, I'm trying to learn Linux. I'm trying to learn a bit Python. I'm more into Raspberry Pi. One of the things they had here was the urban farming and how they can use the Pi and Arduinos to monitor water levels and stuff, because I also do gardening. So it's kind of neat where you can take something like from technology and also using to gardening and other hobbies and kind of have it branches out.
I'm just studying for the LPI 101 and 102 tests to hopefully become certified LPI 1. Well, the LPI test is like a generalized Linux certification. There's 3 levels. I'm just going for the first level right now. It's more of a generalized certification.
We're getting pictures.
Hey. So tell us a little bit about Red Hat.
That's on the spot. I know that's on the spot.
It's a great company to work for.
My name is Scott McCarty. I am a solutions architect for Red Hat. I cover Ohio and Michigan.
My name is Dmitry Pal. I'm senior engineering manager with Identity Management Department. I do all sorts of technologies related to identity management.
Cool.
And here I was to give a talk about Active Directory integration and how you can bring Linux into the enterprise that is dominated by Active Directory. How you can be successful in doing that.
You guys have recently taken on CentOS as an official project. So how's that been working out so far?
It's been good. Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, I agree.
It makes perfect sense.
I agree.
Yes.
Cool.
It's been great. I mean, it allows us to, and you know this because he works on a specific team, but it allows us to eat our own dog food when we're doing the upstreaming. So, like, if we're working on identity management, or IPA, free IPA, you can do some work on CentOS and make sure it's going to work in route, with the upstream ahead of time. So it's nice.
Yeah, so actually one of the strategies that we are employing right now, because CentOS is so close now, we can take upstream bits and deliver them through CentOS to the administrators who are really our customer base as an early preview, as tech previews, as demos, as proof of concept, even before we went through the full stabilization cycle. Yeah, so that's a great opportunity to reach out to our main customer base.
The employment opportunities are vast, so to speak. We're hiring pretty much any technical or non-technical position you can imagine. Non-technical encompasses things like customer support, and then more process-oriented things internally. So we have lots of teams that kind of support our main software development within our software development. Things like managing our library of Medicare forms, for instance. On the technical side, we have just pretty much any technical position you can imagine. That's from systems engineering to network management to desktop support to software engineering to software testing. Pretty much any technical position you can imagine, we probably have room for.
The thing that for underserved areas, and every big city has underserved areas, there's Free Geek or different organizations in most large cities where people can donate their used computers, and then rather than they strip it so that there's no information on the hard drive, and so then they put Linux operating system on it, usually Ubuntu, but it could be BSD, it could be other open source operating systems, and that way it's not illegal that actually to give your used computer to somebody else, they don't have the license for the operating system. So there have been thousands of these computers have been remodeled for Ubuntu. And you know what? There's a mistake that Ubuntu or open source operating systems are more difficult and therefore the techie person, the super geek that would use this. No, they're going to people that are very poor. There was something like 500 of these computers went to Ghana, Africa, for people who didn't know anything about computers other than what they learned from a blackboard, from an actual blackboard. They were practicing keyboarding or demonstrating it, and they learned the Linux Ubuntu operating system very quickly. The other thing is in Pittsburgh, they've given away thousands in different charities, and they have volunteers that come in and they put new software, all free open source software on it, from the browser to the email client like Firefox, Mozilla, OpenOffice, Ubuntu, and then people who can't afford it or charities are given these computers, and it's a wonderful nonprofit way to cross the digital divide and help people that are less fortunate than yourself. And actually, in poorer places, they actually use phones like this. And it's like heartbreaking when you hear about kids trying to do their homework on a smartphone because they have no desktop, they have no laptop. That might be their only source for the internet. So that's if they have that at all. But it's a way to play fair and to really help people who are underserved, because whatever, mind is a terrible thing to waste, and carrying one of these around is like carrying that 30-pound Encyclopedia Britannica that we used to go to the library for to use. This is like having your own library, so what a wonderful thing.
My name is Zach Slotnick. I'm here at Ohio Linux Fest. I'm an avid Google Glass user. When I'm on the go, it's really nice to get status updates right here in my display. I also use it to get directions. And it's also great to correspond with people when I'm on the go. So for example, someone just sent me a message right now, and if I tilt my head up, as you can see, the light just came on there. The folks that I was just talking to a few minutes ago sent me a message, and I'm able to respond to it by clicking on reply. Hey, this message came from my glass.
And I noticed that you've been doing some taps and some swipes.
Yeah.
Actually, directly on the element. Can you tell me about that? How the controls work?
Yeah. Actually, I'll give you a brief tutorial of it. So this at the front here is the display prism here, and so the actual display is inside this arm right here. And so at the end of it, there is a metal foil right here, which is kind of like a mirror. And so basically, that stops light from leaking in the side. And that also makes sure that whatever comes on the display is reflected back in here, so you can see it well. Additionally, on the front, there's a web on the top of the unit here. Here's a shutter release button, and what this does is if I touch it like this, it will snap a photo. One of the things that people often do with it is they say, "Okay, glass, take a picture," and it will take a picture. Now, on the side of the unit, right here, this is a touchpad, much the same as you would find on your laptop or any other kind of mobile device. And basically, it recognizes several gestures. Moving forward, it slides things in the card deck forward. Sliding back moves things backward in the card deck. Sliding down dismisses them, and you can tap it to select items. It's a USB port, standard micro USB port, nothing exotic, nothing special, that is used to charge the device. And you can also plug in, an earpiece into there. There's mono and a stereo one available, because you can play Google Music on here if you want. This right here is the button to turn the unit on and off, and then this right here is the speaker, which uses some kind of bone conduction technology, much the same as your average Bluetooth headset would. And then this unit that protrudes at the back here, this is the battery. In terms of battery life, the battery itself is, of course, physically very small. And on average, I end up getting roughly around 6 to 8 hours battery life out of it, on average. And then, I don't know if you can see on the front here, but I have a set of frames with it. And these have been outfitted with my prescription. And any optical dispensary can do that for you. You just buy it from Google, and then you take it to an optical dispensary with your prescription, and they put the lenses in there for it. One of the more useful things for me. So I live in New York City, and I live along a subway line that can get fairly congested from time to time and is highly prone to issues. So one of the things that I commonly use it for is when I leave my apartment on my way on my way to work, I can just tilt my head back like this, say, "Okay, glass, Google, L train status," something like that, and it will Google search that and present the details here. I use it to get directions. It knows where it is. It has GPS built into it, and it knows where it is, and so it uses the same Google Maps interface that many people are very familiar with to get that information. And in fact, I use it whenever I'm walking around whenever I'm walking around New York or in a city that I'm not familiar with or not too familiar with, such as Columbus.
Well, that's a good point, because I was wondering, have you found them at all obstructive or anything, or any downside to it so far?
The only downside that I've noticed, and this was actually my own doing, was when I had the prescription lenses made, I had them made with a transitions coating on them. And that was my fault. That has nothing to do with the product itself. And I'll tell you why. So what happens is at high noon, if you're walking towards the sun, what ends up happening is the sunlight impinges off the prism here. The prism is also coated with that same material, so it darkens to have better daylight performance. So what ends up happening is it casts a shadow across the lens here, and parts of the lens do not transition completely, whereas others do. And so because you have two eyes for depth perception, it really it can be distracting. That's the only obstruction I've ever had with it. The only other thing that I've noticed about it is one of the things that I try to be very, very cognizant of is if I walk into a bar or a restaurant or a nightclub or something, and I'm wearing them, I make sure that before I say order a drink or speak with someone behind the counter or something like that, I make sure that I take them off, so that because I realize that some people still have an adverse reaction to seeing people with Google Glass, and they may not necessarily want to talk to me, or they may feel that I'm being inconsiderate of them because they may not understand how the device works. Many people think that I'm recording them, and that's just simply untrue. The device itself is actually very passive. It doesn't, like right now, it's just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. Now again, it may seem distorted for you because my prescription is obviously different than yours.
I just want people to see me. Oh wow, okay. I just wanted people to see me wearing.
Mm-hmm. If you'd like to try a query, tilt your head back like this. Thing will come on, and when you see the clock, say "OK, Glass."
Yeah. Holy cow. And it's very unobstructive. I mean, like honestly, if I was wearing this with my prescription lenses, I wouldn't. It's like normal. I just got this thing up here.
It's very natural. I've just found that it's a very it feels natural to me. I mean, as natural as say a computer attached to one's head can feel, but it is nevertheless interesting. Or at least I think it's interesting.
I just learned that you are the representative here from Kentucky, so I mentioned that I'm also part of the tech startup community here in Columbus, which is actually a huge and growing community here. The support structure is amazing. They're starting to call the Midwest the Silicon Prairie. So about 2 years ago, three partners and I co-founded HuddleWoo. So HuddleWoo is a digital video platform. It's live, peer-to-peer. It's kind of like your Skype out there, but it also has a scheduling mechanism and a payment mechanism. So it's basically a platform for coaches or mentors to monetize their time and interact with their following. So giving their following a whole new level of access to their expertise. So I mentioned earlier that coincidentally, me being here at Linuxfest, our platform is actually built on a Drupal CMS platform running on a LAMP backend. So pretty exciting stuff. It's fully functional. It's at huddlewoo.com. Again, that's huddlewoo.com. But I'm not here to represent that, but it just so happens that it's a nice coincidence. And just like Linuxfest and the sysadmin community here in Columbus, it's very well supported, just like the tech community. So pretty exciting stuff.
Well, I'll give you a few minor examples. I go out and I buy a laptop, heaven forbid, a Microsoft laptop. And it's not enough that you've just paid $500-600 for this laptop. Now they want you to install the trial version of Microsoft Office, and then when that's up, then you're held hostage to give them a couple $100 more money in order to use Microsoft Office. You could go to OpenOffice and download it free, and oh, by the way, these files are convertible to the same extensions that your friends will know. And this is just one example of how you can save somebody that's operating on a short budget.
Well, my name is Chris, and go ahead. No, that's Ange. Say hi, Ange.
Hi, Ange.
And we run Jupiter Broadcasting. We have about 13 shows that we do every week, and and Linux Action Show is one of our largest shows. We've almost reached 8 years with the Linux Action Show. We're like that close. And yeah, we really have just a real big focus on showcasing all of the really enabling and awesome things you can do with Linux. And Faux Show is Angela's show, and that's a huge part of it, of our community interaction, because
it's a social experience.
Yeah, so many of our shows have all different kind of connected communities to them, and the Faux Show kind of ties all of them together.
Specifically, Linux users is the biggest following.
And we not only do we leverage things like Twitter and all that stuff, but the original social network, the IRC room, which is real time, live, and actually integrated into the show. And that kind of gives us an immediate sense of feedback.
Excellent. And you just recently started something called the Linux Unplugged. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that's one of my favorite shows on there as well, actually.
Well, Linux Action Show is structured and has segments, and we decided to do Linux Unplugged, which is just like a concert would be. Or an acoustic.
Yeah, it's
unplugged.
Unplugged acoustic.
It's free flowing, discussion based. There's a Mumble chat room, which is
we call that our virtual lug. It's a bunch of Linux users that get together, and we screen them a little bit in the sense that we make sure their mics work and that they have the right settings for Mumble. Mumble, it's really cool though, because Mumble is an open source component. So we're using this open source communication software to talk about Linux and open source software, and it gives them a chance to really chime in on stuff that they have pretty strong opinions about. But then also, like the Mumble room goes on after the show. Like we're there during it, but they continue on. Like the dialogue is always going, which is really cool. And I hear about, like, we come to these events and I'll hear like, yeah, well, so-and-so said something in the Mumble room, so I went and tried it, and I built this server, and I installed this, and now we're using it, and it's pretty neat.
Yeah, so it's really laid back and free-flowing, and really lets the audience participate in a way that the Faux Show doesn't quite, and Linux Action Show doesn't. Yeah, it's a good hybrid of the two shows, in fact, is what it ends up being.
Well, tell us a little bit more about the Faux Show.
The Faux Show, it's a social experience.
It's not a real show.
It's not a real show, but basically the chat room gets to talk and participate and share their ideas about whatever topic I choose. And the topics I choose, while they weigh kind of towards technology, can be whatever I really want that week.
And I like it because since I'm not driving the show, I'm just sort of along for the ride. I'm the co-pilot. I get to focus more like on the chat room and pull out funny things that the live audience is saying, or work on pulling up a web page while Ange is talking about something. So it's a fun experience for me because it's different than all the other shows for me.
Well, I've talked with Alan Jude actually in the past too. He actually helped me out with the FreeBSD server that I was having problems with when I was working with the hospital system. He was just so cool about it because I was struggling to try to find a way to back it up. And you actually have another show dedicated to FreeBSD called BSD Now.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that since Alan's not here?
Yeah, BSD Now really is sort of, I think, the only video BSD podcast and also audio. And it's hosted by Alan Jute, who you mentioned, and Chris Moore, who's the creator of PCBSD. His brother Ken Moore is over there showing off the Lumia desktop for PCBSD. And they really focus a lot on interviews, news in the BSD community, and often tutorials too. And right now, they're packing up to go to Meet BSD. So like we're here at Ohio Linux Fest, they're going to California to do Meet BSD to meet up with the BSD community. And there's some rivalry between some of the communities, but for the most part, it's people like are really curious about what the other side, quote unquote, is doing, and that's what BSD Now brings out. It sort of demonstrates that BSD itself is a great platform with a lot of really smart people behind it, with some really great ideas, and it's hosted by somebody who creates the BSD distribution and somebody who manages hundreds and hundreds of servers and develops for FreeBSD. So it's really a great insight into that community and the various BSD flavors.
Can you tell me, I remember a while back, and I don't know if I'm going to use this or not, but just for fun, for my benefit, there was some retitling of the show about 3 or 4 years ago, I believe, to the Computer Action Show.
Right, yes.
What happened there? What was the reason behind that?
So we went, we experimented with a couple of different formats, and one thing we thought that would be interesting was to sort of broaden beyond Linux and sort of focus on
not limit, but also discuss ways that Linux can be incorporated with other OSs and play nicely.
Yeah, and then also look at some just really out there stuff like Haiku and all this kind of stuff that doesn't really fit the context of the Linux Action Show. What I realized though was there is so much just in Linux and all of the open source stuff and projects around Linux that a person could spend an entire lifetime just zeroing in on that. And so it was more appropriate for the show to narrow the focus again back to just that, because it's weird. Once you limit yourself, then you are able to really discover and analyze everything within that spectrum. When you widen it too much, it's actually harder to do a show because there's just too many options. There's too much stuff. So by narrowing the scope of the Linux Action Show, I was able to focus on the quality, focus on the community, you know, these kinds of fast developer interviews and things like that that were related to Linux, and let other people, like some of the other podcasts that are great, like Twit and Techzilla, handle all of the technology general stuff. And the other thing that does is that draws in a different type of audience, right? It draws in a savvier audience, more of a niche, and that's great. That's what a great audience to have, and it's kind of an untapped audience.
Well, what about I remember there was one that you did called the Windows Action Show for a while. Now, was that a joke?
That was
Just April Fool's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Great.
Yeah. I went out and just for that episode, recreated all new title sequences. Went and got Windows themed music for all of the intros and bumps, and put a lot of work into that. But it was, and then the great part was Windows 8 was still in beta, so we did a Windows 8 review, and that was a lot of fun because it was just so flat, so Metro. It was really an experience, and it was like, and like the most basic stuff wouldn't work, like Solitaire would crash at launch. And so like, how do you review a desktop that can't even launch Solitaire, right? So, and the whole joke of it was we were trying to take it seriously. We weren't trying to be Linux guys reviewing Windows. We were Windows guys reviewing Windows. So we were constantly making up excuses for why it's not working, and why it's okay, it's taking a long time, and why it's so flat.
Would you care to give everybody like maybe kind of like a sneak peek at what you guys have planned for the future Linux with the Jupiter Broadcasting? Maybe some future projects coming up. Is that a secret, or can you give us a hint?
But we'll give you a hint. So one of the things that I've definitely noticed with our virtual lug and all of the shows is there's not a very strong female presence, and that's not really something I can fix. I'm sort of limited in that area. So we're starting to talk more about that and see if maybe there's a way to incorporate people that would be appropriate for that show, that would also really bring something fascinating to the discussion. And so, you want to show that?
I don't know. It's up to you.
You can show it. It's all right. So we're working on a new show right now. And we'll see. It's still in development, but we're working out art assets and music and things like that right now.
To be able to free the world. The future of free is our motto, and building a free future is all about going into these tech shops, into these maker shops, where people are actually creating things from scratch, the Arduino boards and the Raspberry Pis and these things, like just learning how to solder, just learning how to like create something that brings so much pride to the person that's doing it and self-esteem. So this is like the bigger story behind the story of free and open source software. And come by all means, join us at Ohio Linux Fest. It's every fall in Columbus. OhioLinux.org is our website. We also have Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Google+. And I'm the social media manager, but it's not about us, it's about all of us.
2014 Linux Fest here in Greater Columbus Convention Center. As you can see right now, one of my new friends here has been gracious enough to let me try on his prescription Google Glass, and just an amazing little device. You can see stuff like this by coming to Linux Fest every year. It'll be coming again 2015, and it's around the country as well. In the Pacific Northwest, they have Linux Fest Northwest. Got to talk to some really fantastic people too. Chris and Angela Fisher from Jupiter Broadcasting. Real treat getting to talk to them and showing them the video of my son, which cracked them up. But I also got to do some great interviews with people from Fedora, from Red Hat. Really, really gracious, nice people. Just tons and tons of information. Great stuff to learn about Linux and open source. So if you're all curious, the good news is, if you have an internet connection, it doesn't cost you a thing to check it out. So make sure that you do that, and keep checking out the website, mountainkernel.com, and make sure you check out all the websites for all the people that we visited today. So thank you very much for joining me and on my tour of this wonderful 3-day weekend event, Linuxfest 2014, Columbus, Ohio. Thanks very much.
Oh.